What's going down, motherfuckers? Welcome back to A Land Before Curse and Grand Prix World. I hope you guys are well. Sorry for delay in getting these episodes out to you. I've been back at work doing my day job, and it's not been a smooth landing. Let's put it that way. Had a bunch of comments since we last spoke, so I'm going to go over those as quickly as I can. First of all, shout out to Nick, who asked an excellent question that I want to dive into straight away. Nick asked, is there a benefit to putting 100% of your commercial staff on a single deal? And I think that's an excellent question. To be honest with you, Nick, I've never done it, but there's a reason why I haven't done it, and it doesn't invalidate the reason that makes this an excellent question. I can see what you were going for. The idea that by using 100% of your staff, you could maybe close some bigger, more important deals quicker, at maybe the expense of losing some smaller deals later on, and that does make a lot of sense. I want to put this to you as kind of like an economic argument. So if you think about economic activity in an area, you can have a diverse economy with lots of businesses going on, or you can specialize. And there are benefits to both things. So if you specialize, which is the equivalent here of putting 100% of your staff on something, then you get the benefit of efficiency. And so you would expect to make progress more easily, or in this case faster, or arguably both. However, if there is a shock to that area of the economy, you suffer unduly. Your problems are amplified by the fact you've got all your eggs in a single basket. Whereas if you have a diverse economy, or you're negotiating with many people at once, you maybe aren't getting the benefits of specialization, but a shock is not going to be as shocking to you. Now, with cash sponsors, assuming that you have your team, engine, tyre, and fuel deals all tied up for 2 years, in the second year, with your cash sponsors, there's absolutely no reason, in my opinion, why you couldn't try putting 100% of your guys on, say, a Castrol deal or a Danker deal, if you feel that competition for the level 5 sponsors would be too much for you to compete with without leveraging all your resources. And there's a perfectly legitimate case for that. Again, I've never done it because the AI don't play by the same rules as us, and you very frequently don't actually get to find out who you're in direct competition with. So while there are a number of factors that affect your negotiations, they don't all affect the negotiations taking place behind the scenes with other teams, and you can lose sponsors pretty quickly and without warning. So you can be making great progress on, say, a deal with Danker, and then you can go for a race and suddenly they've signed with Williams out of nowhere. The problem there would be if you would specialize, if you put 100% of your guys on that, then you've not been making progress anywhere else. And particularly with the smaller teams, it's all about hedging your bets. You need to have a safety net. You should always have a backup plan. The other reason I've never really done it is because there are 4 priority areas and 3 key areas. The 4 priority areas are obviously team, engine, tyres, and fuels. They're priority because they are important. They have the biggest advantage to gain for your team. The 3 key areas are engine, tyres, and fuels. Without a deal in each of these tabs, you basically can't compete. You are out of the game. The game would be over for you. So if we put 100% of our guys on this Peugeot Works deal, we may at this point in the season have a partner deal tied up, but we wouldn't have any progress at all on the tyres or fuels. As it stands now, and we're going to delve into this a little bit more in the proper episode, as it stands now, we're very late in the season. We're very, very late in the season. We're going to have to start moving quickly on the design front. We're going to have to start moving quickly to wrap up as many deals as we can. Now, we can, by making them a team sponsor, double the amount of money from Intercon, but it's such a pathetic amount of money that it's not necessarily worth tying that up for 2 seasons. That's where we've got the biggest problem right now, that we haven't been able to sort of leverage our staff a little bit and get ourselves a title sponsor from within the cash sponsor area. But what we have done by hedging our bets is, in an emergency situation like we're approaching now, we can choose to become a customer. And that would immediately, if we look at the length of this tire bar here, and we appreciate that getting a partner deal is worth about, let's call it 450,000, just rounded up. But getting a partner deal on the engine is worth 6.4 million. Then, actually, we're paying more for engines this season, so arguably year on year it's worth about 7.5 million. It's much more important that we get the partner deal, or ideally we get the works deal. That has to be our top priority since we can't get a team sponsor. So now, even with 20% of our staff on this tire deal, we can appreciate that it's unlikely we're going to fill this bar. It's a bit of a bummer, but them's the breaks. And sometimes you just get unlucky, and particularly with the tyres, I feel we have got unlucky. I do believe a partner deal is possible for the race fuels, which saves us another 260,000. Pocket change really in Formula 1 normally, but for a team our size, it's an important saving, and we should get it if we can. But now I think the time has come really to maybe close out this deal with Bridgestone as a customer. It's only a 1 season deal, so the impact is minimised. And then use that 20% of our commercial staff to try and push these deals forward, and maybe try and sneak ourselves maybe a level 3 sponsor that we can make our title sponsor, hopefully for good cash monies. But we'll go into that properly in the episode. Hopefully that makes sense to you. Basically, my stance on the topic is that it is better to split your staff across multiple deals. Sometimes even within a section, you'll notice at the start of the season I put a few percent on each of the engine suppliers that I'm interested in dealing with, and we basically go from there to see who offers us the best deal. That's my feedback. I hope that was helpful for you. If you've got any further questions, don't hesitate to slam them in the comments section below. Send me a Twitter or send me an email, and I will be happy to address it. Which brings me on to the other comments. So, JOTT very helpfully chimed in with his own thoughts on my Minardi strategy. And he points out quite correctly that depending on which version of the game you're running, how it's been patched, and whether you're running any modifications, that can change some of the rules that I've communicated to you. He is of the opinion, and as I said, people do have different opinions on this. He's of the opinion that actually chasing a more important, sorry, important's the wrong word, isn't it? A higher rated chief designer is actually more important than making an incremental gain and hiring staff and saving the money. I continue to disagree. For me, a more sustainable way to grow is to grow the department rather than the value, the budgetary value of the team lead. I've never been an advocate of the big signing, and as I said in my Arrows playthrough, there are several ways to play this game successfully. What I'm showing you is what I consider to be the safest way to get Minardi reliably into the second season. Nothing more. You will recall there are, in my opinion, more aggressive strategies that can probably deliver you some better race results in Season 2 than my strategy is going to deliver. However, money will continue to be tight in those conditions, and as with the Arrows playthrough, you can go one of two ways really. You can rely on the quality of your staff to deliver results, or you can rely on the quality of your team to deliver the results. And I've always been a big believer that the car, the engineering, the technology is what actually wins races rather than the driver skill or the star signing. obviously the case against that would be summed up in 2 words, which are Adrian Newey. However, he's gone off the boil a bit recently and kind of proven my point that there's generally no single thing that dictates success completely, whether in the real world or in this game. You can chase the bigger signings if you wish, but I genuinely wouldn't recommend it. I believe Jay is one of the people playing through as Minardi right now. I mean, I've seen a bunch of these popping up over the last 12 months or so. So if you want to see how he's handling things, be sure to pop over and check out how his Minardi strategy differs from mine, and you can make your mind up as to which way you prefer. I continue to advocate for investment in the team rather than investment in people, so I find greater benefit in making the team efficient, boosting economic capacity, and developing our way out of any problems rather than spending a whole buttload of money up front on a big name chief designer or a big name technical lead who may or may not synchronize with our infrastructure to deliver a winning car. I think you can always turn a moderate car into a dominant car over the course of a season. I think it's much harsher on your budget to try and dump millions into key positions to try and deliver the same result. Also, we picked up a few subscribers. Not so many, only 2 or 3, I believe. But welcome, guys. If you're new to the channel, I do really appreciate you taking time to interact, to watch the videos. I know there are a lot of channels out there, so it's super cool that you choose to spend some time over here with me. And I appreciate all your comments, your likes, dislikes, and whatnottery. That is very cool. If you have commented recently on one of my videos and you are yet to hear back, I do apologize. I make it my personal mission to get back to everyone directly because you've taken time out of your day to give me your thoughts. I should take time out of my day to thank you for that, at least, if nothing else. So again, thank you for stopping in, and my apologies if I haven't got back to you just yet. Right, moving on. You'll notice our budget has dropped slightly. That's because I have produced spare parts and whatnot. Thanks again to the Labour Duck who clarified how to produce spare parts using money to supplement production. So basically, I'll show you next round, but we could produce 2 spare parts. You have to put the entire excess of your staff and get the highest completion percentage possible on an excess spare part, and then using these plus signs here, you spend money increasing the cost of the spare parts to complete production. So you couldn't. He's technically correct that you can use 1% of your staff, but basically you have to have already spent 99% of your staff. Really, in our case, it's something like 42% of our staff now, or 43% of our staff are required to make a single spare part. So after we've made 2, we've got 86% used. So the entire 14% that remains has to be deployed on spare part construction and then money on top. So it only buys you an extra spare part, but he's quite right in what he says that sometimes that's all you need. Our problems are a little bit more extensive than that, but we'll get into that. Right, so we know we're not going to get a team sponsor this year. Our priority should still be getting the Peugeot deal in place. It looks like a stretch to get that works deal, but it is not impossible. Likewise, the Race Fuels deal may be a stretch. What definitely is a stretch is the Bridgestone deal. So I'm going to take all the guys off that, and I am going to settle as a customer. Not happy about it. I'm sure you guys aren't happy about it either. We're going to boost Peugeot to 60%. And we're going to take 15% of our staff, and we're going to try and pick up a 2 or 3 star sponsor that we can make our team sponsor next year. Let's keep it Italian. Let's go for Telecom Italia. So we will open negotiations there. Again, we're just going to test the water for a single round. We're going to see what they offer. Actually, follow your own rules. 0. Follow your own rules. I'm going to put 5% on that just to dip my toes in the water. I'm going to boost these further and just try and make sure we're chasing the important deals. In the design front, we've moved over to CFD simulation phase. We're going to run that for a single round. I'm not expecting any miracles. Then we'll go straight to modelling and then straight to wind tunnel, and that should leave us with 2 to 3 rounds left to construct the cars we need for next season. That means, based on our current situation, which is fucked, we are probably going to have to drop money on producing another car, and we're going to have to well, we may not have to actually, but we will have to make a concerted effort to not qualify for some of the remaining rounds of the championship. Nevertheless, quality for our hospitality in Great Britain is level 3. Not sure if it's actually worth dropping some G's to bring guys along. Not entirely convinced. I hate myself for doing this because we really don't have the cash, but we're gonna. And we'll bring Intercont this time because Telecom Italia haven't started negotiations with us yet. Maybe, just maybe, that greases the wheels of capitalism and gets us that Agip partner deal and maybe the Peugeot dollars. I'm going to drop my spending here because I am worried about our end of season budget for the final build. Everything else is as good as it's going to get. Why don't I sell an extra 2% of the team? A little bit cheap, but that actually will pay for the hospitality, and that will make a difference. Okay, so again, I don't normally approve of hospitality in Season 1, but if you manage to get a good share price, you've got a little bit of leeway, and I'm choosing to spend a little bit of that leeway on trying to grease these deals a little bit. We're not going to get a huge bonus because the quality of our hospitality is pretty shit, but what can you do? That means we will not be DNQing for this Grand Prix, which means we have to make a token effort. Still not testing because, well, you know why, I've demonstrated now. We have Evolution 2 wet tyres, but nothing more. Esteban Tuero needs to be moved into a car that isn't completely knacked. That will be car 1. I'll have to hope he doesn't crash again, because that was very uncool of him. Okay, looking good. Well, not, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean. 20 degrees dry with a very strong wind. For qualification. Tuero's basically a write-off because he's running 7% damage, which is high enough to detrimentally affect performance. Nevertheless, we'll do what we can. Probably not much. Nope, dead last, as I predicted, behind the Tyrrells even. Shinji Nakano continues to lead Esteban Tuero though, and the gap isn't as big as it should be considering Tuero's damage level, so I don't know if that's Tuero having a good one or Nakano having a bad one, but whatever it is, what it is. Michael Schumacher took the pole position though on a 1:23.691. Mika Hakkinen first of the Bridgestone runners for McLaren on a 1:23.692. Tiny fraction of time between those two there, and David Coulthard will be heading up the second row ahead of Eddie Irvine's Ferrari. Verts and Fisichella in the Benettons take 5th and 6th. Johnny Newhouse leads the Williams pack in 7th and 8th. Pedro Diniz has a strong run to 9th, and Ralph Schumacher puts his Jordan 10th. Good job indeed. 21 degrees, very strong wind and light rain. That may help us. I don't think it'll do very much for old Esteban, but let's see. No. It didn't. We had a clutch failure on Shinji Nakano's car, which is going to give us more damage to worry about. Michael Schumacher won in the rain. Who would have guessed? Ahead of Mika Hakkinen. Damon Hill, again, strong run in wet weather conditions to put his Jordan on the final step of the podium, albeit a lap down, which just emphasises how dominant Schumacher and Ferrari's performance was this round. The points paying positions are completed by Heinz-Harald Frenzen's Williams, Eddie Irvine's Ferrari, and Giancarlo Fisichella's Benetton smashing. Esteban Tuero did finish 1 lap up on Ricardo Rosset, so it wasn't all bad news, but still, probably not done ourselves any favours. Schumacher continues to lead the Drivers' Championship on 62 sexy points. Ferrari not quite as dominant as they were, but still leading on 92 points to McLaren's 74. Smashing. Turned a little bit of a profit last round. That's good. So we're closing in on that partnership deal now. Still no real progress going on the engine deal, which is, of course, a worry. We don't know what the conditions are for Telecom Italia yet, but I'm very hopeful that maybe Intercon have changed their mind about something. Apparently not. Again, with it being a 2-season deal, it's going to be a little bit harder to sign. We're going to have to work for it. But it does mean, I think, we've got a much better chance now of signing that Agip deal. I feel a little bit happier, given how quickly those 2 boxes are filled up. It was the first box becoming full that was the real time sink, and it seems that we've started to build some kind of rapport. 10% of the car is covered for next season, and that's because we've paid for it, so not looking particularly good so far, but again, you shouldn't panic at this stage in proceedings. No guys to hire really, except a mechanic, which I'm going to do because they're cheap. Other than that, everything's all lined up. We have 2 cars that are incapable of running in their current conditions, so we have to get on the spare parts train. Over in the design studio, round 10, round 11, round 12. We could probably put 1 more round into the CFD simulation. Is it 15 or 16 rounds this season? I always forget. It's one of these. We're at Austria. Round 10, round 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. We've got 16 rounds. So by round 13 we have to be finished. So round 11, 12, 13. Yeah, that would work. That would... No, it wouldn't. No, it wouldn't. By the end of round 10, which we're on now, we would have put an extra round in. End of round 11... End of round 12, build round 13. Yes, we could. Okay, so I'm going to do that because, as we've discussed, the top 2 in order are the most important areas of the car to get correct, so we're going to focus on that. We're going to drop some cash that we don't really have on boosting spare part production to show you Labourduct's excellent input there. So you see, so it costs us an extra 25,500, but it does complete production, so pretty good. Car 3 is looking relatively non-worn, so I might leave that as it is and fix up car 2, damage first. Yeah, it's still heavily worn, but it will run, and that's all we need it to do. Yeah, I'll keep Nakano in car 3, and car 1 is basically out of commission. I don't think we're going to spend any time or money or effort of any description getting that into a better condition than it is. Over on the factory side, we're getting close to dropping those cash monies on the CAD and CAM system for next year. I may even go ahead and do it now. Yes, I think I will. It's a little bit earlier, but I'm trying to be a little bit braver, just so I'm not being overly cautious when showing you guys what I would do. You see the 5 and 4 star sponsors starting to be hoovered up. A lot more 4-star sponsors left than I was aware of. The 3s are actually in greater demand, so we may be up against it with Telecom Italia. I don't want to give up on that Intercon deal just because it's 2 years, but it's such a small amount of money at the end of the day. I'll take 5% off the Agate deal, which I think we're close to finishing up, and I will put that on Tommy Hilfiger, and we'll see what we can get. I'm going to remove Intercon from here, and we're going to bring Telecom Italia. We're going to do one more round of hospitality after this, which will be in Japan. Everything else is smashing, or as smashing as it can be. I'm going to save the game and then we will press onwards. Welcome back. Okay, no setup points to speak of. That may not be resolved next season either. We shall have to see. Everything else is everything else. Let's see what we can do. I am going to attempt to non-qualify Esteban Tuero, I think. Yeah, I think I might. Yeah. Excellent, he didn't qualify. Perfect. Shinji Nakano splits the Tyrrells. That'll do for me, considering they are cheating and bringing out updates to their car, which a human player wouldn't be able to do. 26 degrees, very dry for race day. That's good, no wet weather to mess us up. Fresh tyres for every stint for our old pal Shinji, who hopefully will beat the Tyrrells, although no guarantees. 14th, so he made it to the end, which is important. He beat both Tyrrells on race pace, which makes me happy as well. Attrition was average, nothing spectacular. Accident though for Pedro Diniz, makes me sad. Johnny Newhouse takes the win for Williams, where Eddie Irvine takes second, and the podium is rounded off by Giancarlo Fisichella's Benetton. The final points paying positions go to Alexander Wurz's Benetton, David Coulthard's McLaren, and Mika Salo's Arrows, respectively. Good run for Mika Salo, and a very shaken up podium there. Coulthard way down against his usual position. It seems while the attrition wasn't massive, it was all the big names, so unfortunate for some of them. You can probably hear I'm starting to lose my voice. I think I've got a cold. That'll be fun. In the Drivers' Championship, 62 points remains the number assigned to Michael Schumacher, but the interesting thing is Mika Salo is now on the points radar, which means Arrows get an extra point. Not enough to get them out of 7th position, but it's still a strong showing for them. Sauber as well, actually delivering nicely. Ferrari continue to lead the constructors ahead of McLaren. Williams closed the gap a little bit, but it's too little too late, frankly. Okay, let's check on the sponsor situation. We lost a bit of money that round, but we expected that. The people we're talking to have not signed with anyone else, so that's something. I think the Telecom Italia deal is probably a bit ambitious. Yeah, it's not going to happen. But we tested it. And that's all we can do. The Intercon deal, still nothing. I'll put 10% on the Tommy deal and see what we get. No further progress on the Agip deal, no further progress on the Peugeot deal. We might be looking at a partnership deal here, guys. That would be unfortunate, but it may be what happens. Let's bring Tommy Hilfiger along to the next Grand Prix, see if we can do anything there. Meanwhile, in the design office, stage 2 has to be completed now, so we are moving on to the modelling stage. No progress anywhere else because no need for it. Let's put some spare parts into production in the time it takes me to say thank you very, very, very much for watching, guys. I hope you are having a good week, and I'm sorry for the lack of videos, but you guys take very good care, and I will catch up with you before you even notice. Bye for now.